Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with a quick album review. This is a 2 CD set for Crabby Appleton. Now that might be a new name for some of you. Technically it should be a new name for me, but back in the vaults of Now Spinning Magazine's YouTube channel you will find a review for Forever Changing, the ginormous box set for Elektra records, and that's, it's well worth looking for the video. It's one of my early ones, but nevertheless it's worth finding. And there's lots of, obviously in a compilation box like that, there's tons of stuff to discover, and one of the bands I really liked was Crabby Appleton. And so when I found out that Cherry Red were going to be releasing a 2 CD anthology of the band, I was very interested, and here it is. So before I carry on, let's have a quick look at the package itself. This is Crabby Appleton, Go Back, the Anthology. It's a 2 CD set which folds out into these two panels with pictures of the band here. It looks like promo shots, all the track listings on the inside panel, and then the booklet is one of these really detailed, excellent jobs from Cherry Red. So because a lot of people won't be aware of this band, this is for people who are really interested in the late 60s, early 70s music coming out of especially the Elektra label, which is one of the most interesting and best labels in many ways for the kind of music they had on there. They did everything, including Queen, and towards the mid 70s. But this is really, really excellent stuff. As you know, from those of you who subscribe and see my videos, I love this kind of memorabilia. I love the fact they've talked to the band so you can find out what happened, why it didn't actually work out as they thought it would. They had all the breaks, but it didn't quite happen. We've got the front and back sleeves of both albums and some great pictures as well, and the essays from David Wells in May 2023, so right up to date. And you can see here we've got some bonus tracks for the first album, and just a couple which are mono singles for the second one. Crabby Appleton, Go Back, the Anthology 2 CD set, and obviously Go Back is their most famous song, but I really like this. It's actually interesting because it's 1970. So in 1970 the UK was exploding in the world of rock music, you know, Led Zeppelin and Purple and all that Sabbath and stuff. And this really does have its feet in the late 60s, but in a good way. You know, there's lots of keyboard solos and guitar solos. It's pop rock. It's got that kind of joyous 60s feel to it. And I'd always read that the second album wasn't as good as the first one, and some of the people on the Now Spinning Facebook group had said the same. And so when I started playing Rotten to the Core, I thought I wasn't expecting much. And there are a couple of tracks where it kind of does dip into a kind of country-esque feel. But overall, there's some really, really, really great songs. There's not so many bonus tracks on the second disc, but there's some great playing, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a 5,000 word essay, as you saw when I went through it, and it's one of these really detailed sets as well. And what's so good about this, especially for me, and I can't wax lyrical about the band because I've only literally, in my advanced years, I've played the first album 3 times and the second album twice, and obviously the single from the box set. And that's my depth of my experience of this band. But what is so great is that having this fathoms of time between me and when this came out, and how I would never have discovered it at that time. I wouldn't have discovered it in the 80s or the 90s or the 2010s. It would have been impossible. And here it is, you know, and now I can kind of like lift the lid, sit down, and go back to this band's time. And why I like stuff like this, I can read the booklet, understand the trials and tribulations of why the band didn't break through, how the surviving members are doing now, and really get into it. And as I said, you know, some of the keyboard interactions with the guitar, I love that kind of Hammond feel anyway. It's not prog, it's not even like hard rock, but it's got that kind of feel. You know, there's some great playing, really good musicianship on it. And could they have gone further? Yes. They could. In some ways, it'd be even harder now, with the amount of competition there is, with hundreds of thousands of tracks being uploaded every day in the world we now live in. But even then, you know, there was only so much money and there was only so much exposure. There wasn't people like me waffling on about bands like this. And so you had to be picked up by the radio, or, you know, but that was it, or the TV. And if you didn't get another hit, it wasn't going to happen. But what was interesting, the kind of coverage they had and the bands they supported, they got so close. But give it a listen. I can't really describe too much more about it because it's fairly unique. But it's out now. It's a 2 CD set. It's Grapefruit Records, who are a subsidiary of Cherry Records, and they do this really, really well. So it's their whole output on a 2 CD set. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Now Spinning Magazine by becoming a patron or a YouTube member. Links are below for you to become on board and become a supporter and member of Now Spinning. So take care, everybody, and I shall see you very, very soon.